Welcome to the Joseph Evaldi Podcast. On tonight's program, I will discuss about turning back the clock and going over what you've done. As you know, we move very fast, but eventually we have to look back and rediscover, redo, and renew what we have done before. And this is a process. Maybe an area of the house needs cleaning. Maybe it could be you're doing a book on something that you've done 20 years ago, which I am doing, and then you're reading and you realize a lot has changed. And that is what I am going to discuss on today's program. Where do I begin? For starters, I'm going to talk about a little story about my book that I'm working on. I've come across this notepad for a very long time. It was my journal in the junior year of high school, and then I said, let me do a book on that. And then I realized it's basically thoughts of a kid in junior year of high school who thought he knew it all. And what I realize now is I don't know nearly much about life, because life is a learning experience every day. But before, I thought I knew all the answers. I thought everything was the way it was. And I'm not going to dwell on that, but I'm just going to discuss how it is to go back and read what was written. You may feel some ideas are different. You may feel some ideas have changed. You may feel that you've grown and come a long way, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you feel that you've gotten worse with your life. It's what happens with a lot of people. And let's just say you're cleaning a room. You have memories that you're holding on to that you don't even know why you're holding on to it. You have pictures all around. You have items that represent something. And the cleaning process is so difficult that you need to let go. And then you're running through these memories as you're looking through these items. Maybe they represent a person or a situation, or everything else. And it has you wondering, what do I do now? How do I make my life better than what it was? And I guess that is why we go back to these things that we have buried, and we go over it again. We might not be the neatest people, but when we look back at what we've gone through, what we've accomplished, and we realize we might have moved on from, part of the memory still sticks around. And I'm going to discuss that more after the break.
Introduction. For as long as we can remember, we grew up in families. Whether it was to our natural parents, foster parents, or it was our aunts and uncles who raised us, we were born into a family and a pecking order. This was our position and standing in the family. Some of us have dealt with our parents first. Some of us had to cope with the fact that there was a smaller member of the family, and some of us dealt with the fact that we had to deal with older members of the family. They were our siblings. Through this time, we develop into people we want to be. We have an idea of the job we want in life, and we have an idea of who we want to marry. Quote, birth order is widely recognized in individual psychology as a determinant of personality. Ashby, Locierco, and Kenny, 2003, page 43. We develop our certain paths by learning from our parents and our siblings. Even singletons go through the growing up process developing traits. Eventually, we learn to interpret where we stand in the family. According to Campbell et al., quote, psychological birth order is generally defined as the way a person perceives and interprets his or her position in the family constellation. Ashley, Locierco, and Kenny, 2003, page 44. This is where we gradually formulate ideas, and we grow them into our own. Oftentimes, this leads to conflict within the ranking of birth order. The next section will discuss how birth order develops in people.
That was birth order, how roles of each sibling are placed by birth, a clip of it. It is written by Joseph Evaldi, now available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, even available on Amazon Kindle. Back to the program. Okay. Where I left off, it goes over redoing what we have, and I feel that this clip, birth order, how roles of each sibling are placed at birth, may help us discover those memories that we've had with our family. Even though we've moved on from some things, but a lot of things we need to renew. Maybe there's a relationship that needs rekindling. Maybe there's a family member you need to reach out to. Maybe there's a lot of things. But when we're going so fast, doing our routine and everything else, we're going to need to eventually go through our stuff. And it could be symbolic or it could be physical. But this stuff represents the part of my language. Crap that fills our life. And I'm going to discuss this. When that fills our life, it's like excess baggage. It builds and it builds and it builds. It builds and it can't until it can't build anymore. And then we have health problems. Now, I'm not saying we all have to be perfect, because this isn't a perfect world. I mean, we were bombarded with how much stuff every single day, and we're trying to maintain afloat. We have new stuff coming in left and right, and it's hard to keep up with the pace. So our house is filled. And since we have been faced with our material needs, we still have some stuff. We still have our old tape recorder, our old VCR. We have DVD players. We have all of this stuff. And also a lot of books, when we have it on the tablet as well. Now, how do we manage? How do we manage that time when everything around our space is demanding of our time, even if we have forgotten about it? That's one question I have to ask, because it's true. We face the dilemma and have to turn back the clock with many things. We have to turn back the clock and go back to when we had it, when we got it, when we received it, how we felt. If we didn't feel good about it, then maybe it's time to let go. Or maybe you're holding on to it because you're holding on to it out of guilt. Maybe it's time to give it to somebody or let go of it. Because why would you want to hold on to something that didn't make you feel good in the first place, that you're holding it out of obligation? Maybe you worn it out, and it's time to let go of it. Maybe you're holding on to it because it represents a time period that was good, but you know what? That time period isn't around anymore. And maybe it's time to move on and let that time period go. And we might face those difficulties and challenges of redoing everything again or reviewing it, but it'll be worth it. We do this many times, and we'll eventually come to terms and let it pass through the life cycle. More after the break.
Why putting all your eggs in one basket isn't a good idea for retirement. Most people like to think what is easy and what is convenient. I am like most people. It was until my life started crashing down on me that I then realized I have to do something and do something quick. I'm like most people who are struck with the fact that they don't have much savings put away for their retirement. It's safe to say many people live for today, while some work smarter. That is why it is good to follow David Bach's philosophy by automating everything, and it will add up. This guarantees you will have money put aside and you can allocate it. It is never safe to have all your eggs in one basket. This is how you can go broke, because one crash and all your money that you put aside can be wiped out. This has happened in times of crisis, such as in 1929, the 1970s, 1987, 2000 and 2001, and 2008. People banked on the financial systems to be there, and they weren't there. They had to do something different.